Hi there. My name is Fawad Fazil, and I am the student of English Literature and Linguistics at Qaid University, Islamabad. In this lecture, I will discuss the banking concept of education, which has theorized by the Freire in his book Pedagogy of the Oppressed. You might be thinking about this strange concept, of education, because in this system, in this concept, the banking system and education system shows synonymous of each other, which is a very strange concept. So after this lecture, you will come to know that what does it mean by banking concept of education, and what is the relationship of student and teacher, and what should be the relationship of student and teacher in the classroom settings, and who benefits at the end from this banking concept of education, and how it works. So let's begin from the main arguments of the Freire, and this is the entire project of this book. So Freire says, and I quote, "It has a narrative character, and it is suffering from a kind of narrative sickness." So what does it mean by narrative, yeah, or narration or sickness? As we see in the novels, what is there in the novels or books? There are stories, and they are narrated by different writers, and they have their own background of knowledge, and ideas and ideologies. So he wants to say that in the classroom setting, and this system of education is like that. In this education system, the teacher is the one who tells the story, who is a narrator, and the student carefully listen to those stories, internalize them, and reproduce them. So he wants to say is that the teacher is the only one who have all the types and all the knowledge, and then narrate and all the concepts and ideologies he has, and then students listen to them, so listen to him carefully, and internalize them, and reproduce them. Then Freire has given us some main ideas about this type of system, and he says that the first is the internalization and sickness. We have already talked about that the teacher narrate the stories, and the students listen to them. Consequently, there is no change, no hope in the system, because they have the teacher have their own ideologies as well, and there are state education which are maintaining the capitalist class, are those in power. The next is pupil as manageable or adopting being, and consequently they are only receiver of knowledge, since the teacher is narrating all the ideologies and concepts and ideas, and they only adopt to their ideas, and receive it. It means they are only at receiver ends, the students. The third is attitude and practices, which means teacher-student relationships and classroom settings. Here are some interesting points which he says in his book about these practices. And he says that teacher is the active deliverer, and the student is a passive vessel into which the knowledge is deposited. which means that just like the bank, someone go there and deposit his money over there, and just like as the teacher and the student relationship, there the teacher have all the knowledge, and they deposited that knowledge into the mind of the students. Then he says the teacher knows everything and the students know nothing. Just think about it. That the teacher knows everything, they have all the knowledge, and the students know nothing. Then he says the teacher the teacher choose the program content who are consultant adopt to it, which means the teachers choose all the program, the syllabus, the curriculum, and all these, and the students are only to adopt to it. Then, in the fourth point, teacher as a depositor of knowledge, student as a passive recipient. We have already talked about it. The teacher as a depositor of knowledge of all they have, state education, his own ideologies, and they just put into the minds of the students. Then conformity and adaptability to the existing system, which means content learning and discouraging asking questions. This is very important because this is the entire post-colonial or colonial mindset that for the existing system they choose and and they make the whole syllabus, the curriculum, the education system that could best serve the capitalist class and those in power. So for that, or the content learning, the content which are made by the state and the state policies and those in education system, and discouraging asking questions. So if you have state education, if you have content learning, and you have no dialogical mood of education, so consequently is conformity and adaptability to the existing system. We are fueling that capitalist class. After all these concepts, what should be the way out? So let's briefly talk about the way out from this kind of oppressed system of education. The first is the co-learning, which means there must be a relationship between the student and the teacher in the whole learning process. The other is field of critical pedagogy, which is a very broader field, which means in which there is a dialogical model, and the students ask and the student challenge, and the student talk about things that could hardly touch by the pupil. The third is the classroom setting, which is again very obvious that there must be question answering session, there must be study circles, there must be all the things that is important to challenge the state apparatus and the model of education. The other is state priorities and policies. There must be policies, a good policies and priorities of the state that could tackle that oppressed and the banking concept of education. And the last and the most important one is the dialogical model, or the problem posing model, which is very important to tackle these kind of oppressed system of education. So Freire talked about this dialogical model, which is very important. So I want to share some quotes and some things that Freire says about this dialogical mode of education. He says, and I quote, that the most productive type of communication is dialogue. This is very productive type of communication. Then he says some attributes of the teacher that is very important in this dialogical mode. The first one is love between teacher and students. The other is humility between humility of the teacher. The third is faith. Faith is a kind of faith in humanity. The other is trust. Trust on students that they could change. It's very important. And the other is hope. Hope of the change that the students have the capacity and the ability to change the existing system and this banking concept of education or the oppressed education system. The last one is critical thinking, which is very important because critical thinking gives the ability to the students to challenge, to think critically about the status quo and the existing education system and all these oppressed system and state apparatuses that works only for few. So we have discussed all the banking concept, the main ideas, and the way out. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for watching.